Oh, I'm behind popcorn, aren't I?
My flunky.
My flunkies. Hello everybody and welcome to the first episode of Aidan Squared, the review show here at Prof Publications where me, Aidan Schwartz, and my friend here, Aidan Snook, along with a special guest, Reid Lindemann,
Hello.
are going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So, what'd you guys think?
It was okay. It was enjoyable, but there's just a lot of stuff going on.
It was not as bad as The Last Jedi, in my opinion. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, yes.
It was definitely not the worst of the nine, but definitely not the best either. It was kind of... The plot, if you could even call it that, was a bit of a mess and really choppy.
I said that this isn't a movie, it's an action scene, pretty much, right? There's no breathing room.
It's one giant-ass scavenger hunt.
I hope you like exposition. It's oh boy.
Rotten Tomatoes isn't being too kind right now, so I'm not really sure how this is going to play out. We specifically tried to avoid any online reviews besides, we watched Jeremy John's. He said it was the worst of the 9.
Yeah, but he didn't say worst in a filmmaking sense. He just said that it was his least favorite out of them.
He enjoyed it the least.
Yes, he enjoyed it the least. He said that it was basically a big mess, but there was still stuff that he found enjoyable, but that was basically just because it brought back the feeling from his childhood, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
There was just a lot that didn't work.
There's a lot of stuff that didn't work. Mostly, it's stuff that was never addressed throughout any of these sequel films. They had no plan. They didn't address where Maz got the saber. That was sort of the big one.
Yeah.
They didn't address how Palpatine returns, which is that's sort of the big, that's what kills him.
Considering he's like the John Kramer of the Saw franchise.
Especially since that's the big drawing point of this film in particular. They should at least explain how the hell he's back. You know, it's they never really explain why or...
By the way, I'm on health care now.
Yeah, thanks Obama.
I'm just gonna say it, not a bad film like Last Jedi, in our opinion, of course.
This movie's
It's not good.
literally anything compared to The Last Jedi. It's like the fucking Godfather.
I didn't hate The Last Jedi as much as it sounds like you guys did. I enjoyed it the first couple times that I saw it, but I went back and I watched it again and there was just more and more that I noticed. I saw it 3 times in total now. The last one being last week.
I would say
3 times too many.
Yeah, okay, I would say Reid hates The Last Jedi the most out of us three. And then me is sort of in the middle. And then you...
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't the best either, but I still enjoyed it.
This film tries to do so much, it tries to do damage control, which I've heard in several, non-spoiler reviews that we've watched. Damage control was a big word that appeared a lot. I agree. You could tell that JJ and Ryan never, talked at all.
They didn't have a phone call or Skype call to discuss the future of Star Wars.
Not even a text.
Before we continue, I just want to say that none of us hate this film. We all really enjoyed it. We just see the problems that other people have with it.
Yes.
Because they are still very apparent.
There's very inexcusable problems because we're out of films.
They say that this is the last one that they're doing out of the core 9, but it is still, there's so much stuff that just isn't answered that I just want to know how the hell it happened, you know?
So before we go into individual nitpicks / details, we wanted to say that walking out of the theater, it was myself, Reid, Aidan, and our good buddy Dominic was there. I turned to Dominic as we were walking out, and I said to him that this sequel trilogy could have been a lot better if it was The Force Awakens and then this movie cut in half, and that was 8 and 9. Yeah. You shouldn't have to introduce your main villain, supposedly, of this. They said he was coming back all along.
I highly doubt that. I still think that what it is that, since the 2 directors that did this trilogy never once talked about it, I feel like what it was is that, Rian Johnson killed Snoke and then Abrams was like, fuck, what do I do? It was now I gotta bring back the Emperor. I feel like everything that the Emperor does in this movie was supposed to be Snoke.
To rate the sequel trilogy films, the 3 of those, 7, 8, and 9, I would say my ranking was, we talked about this, mine is probably 7, 9, 8. So
I agree with that.
Yes.
We all like these films to to a varying degree very differently.
It's just not really feel like a J.J. Abrams movie.
They're also different in tone too.
I probably, like, if you didn't tell me that J.J. Abrams, like, directed this, it would seem like all three movies had different directors.
You really wouldn't be able to tell.
This was more of a sci-fi film for the first 2/3.
This is definitely the first one where I noticed that I was watching a sci-fi film when I was watching a Star Wars film. Because most of the time it doesn't give you that feeling until you watch this one and then it's like, oh, it's just space shit.
Yes, and the last third of this is sort of like a medieval fantasy. It's not really space fantasy, which I kind of liked that aspect.
The Sith cult that they have at the end of this, I did quite enjoy that, even though it came out of nowhere. I did really like that element of it.
Yeah, you didn't really tell they were there until like the last time you see the place.
Yes.
So you didn't really know what, like, it was supposed to be this evil lair full of people walking around, and when Kylo goes into it, it looks like just him, which I guess could have been done on purpose. But like at some point in the middle, they showed this room 2 times only. At the very end, where they show the entire big Sith like base that they have, and at the start where you can't even tell what's going on because of the lighting. I liked the lighting on Palpatine, but not the room.
Yeah.
Because like you sort of can't tell what Palpatine looks like until the end, where he kind of looks like a zombie. Which makes me wonder if he actually got like injured by the throw into the reactor shaft or whatever.
That should have just obliterated him, and all he did was just miss a finger.
Oh yeah, he had a missing. Literally, the tip of his finger was just missing.
You know, being thrown into a reactor, I don't think you're just missing a finger. I think you're missing everything.
Yeah, but I think the lighting for Palpatine was good, but they didn't really establish any of the locations very well.
No.
It was either giant wide shots or just close-ups of the characters.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I can usually tell what planet they're at. I had no idea where they were half the time.
They transition every 2 seconds.
Yeah. And going back to the Sith cult thing, you really couldn't tell if they were alive until they started to actually chant stuff.
They chanted Duel of the Fates, which I can appreciate.
Yes, that was awesome. At first, I honestly thought that they were just rocks or something. I thought it was like a rock
I
formation.
honestly couldn't tell that it took me a while to tell that they were people.
It just looked like a bumpy wall.
I leaned over to Dominic, who was there next to me to my right, and I said, are those people in the crowd? I thought it was a room full of statues, because it looked like it was a room full of statues.
Yeah.
You see the same location, because that elevator that they go down, they don't really move from that location. Rey goes down, and then she's in the Colosseum.
Yeah.
But Kylo goes down, and there's like 4 statues. It looked like there were 4 statues on each side.
Yeah.
So I feel like there wasn't very much, like, there wasn't an emphasis on building the shots or like establishing anything.
Yeah.
Because it was in my head. I couldn't stop thinking about it. You can't really tell where you are at any point.
You gotta play a damn scavenger hunt.
A scavenger. Speaking of scavenger hunts,
Oh boy.
That's all this movie is.
you go from clue to place to place.
There are a few fight scenes, and about 2/3 of them consist of 2 people fighting in 2 different areas at the same time.
I kind of dug that though.
It's really cool idea.
That fight where they had where she was in the ship and he was like down in the city, I thought that was like my favorite fight in the movie. I thought that was actually really cool.
It was a great fight.
That was awesome.
A noticeable detail is the sabers don't make the clash noises, but they still have the flare or whatever. But you can't hear them, which is nice. And like
because they're not actually touching.
They like hit a pot like in the street. It spews beads or something everywhere.
Oh yeah, it spewed berries where she was, even though he's the one that hit it. She smashes the shelf, I guess you could call it.
The shelf, yeah.
The shelf.
It was the pole with Vader's helmet, right? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah,
and then she smashes that, and then that lands like next to him. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like my favorite fight in the movie is still the fight that they had with the old Death Star with like the waves crashing around them.
Yeah. I think they showed too much of that fight in the trailers.
I feel like there was something that was a wasted opportunity there. That should have had Duel of the Fates in it. I will live by that for the rest of my life. That fight on the Death Star should have had Duel of the Fates.
All of the trailers had a hint of Duel of the Fates in it, and they were teasing.
There was one that just straight up did have it with that fight. It was like that fight with that the entire time.
The most we got was the choir. Which is cool and all, but I want,
Yeah.
I don't know if I was just hearing this in my head because I wanted to hear it, but whenever they first started fighting, I could hear a little like, but it was so quiet that you couldn't even tell.
I didn't hear it.
I might have just been making that up just because I was sitting there like, play it, and they never did.
Not gonna lie, I can't remember a single song that wasn't reused.
No.
And same for Last Jedi. I'm not calling out like John Williams or anything, but
the only reason that I can pick those out is because I listened to the soundtrack yesterday, and that's the only reason that I can pick out the stuff that was just written for this, and it's only like in 2 sections of the movie.
I like how during the previews, somebody would like die in a trailer or whatever. We would just yell McClunky, and the whole theater. The entire theater was full of skeptics, and there were still open seats.
There was a
lot of open seats.
A good number of open seats.
Which is kind of sad because like San Antonio, it's pretty, I would say populous.
This is the kind of place that, because like, that wasn't the only room at the theater showing the movie. So were the 2 next to it, and those weren't packed either.
It was the first showing of the night, though.
It was the first showing on opening night, which should have been the biggest one, and it was not.
I actually got my ticket last night.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
It was me, Dominic, and Aidan thought we were going together, and Reid said that he expressed interest in going. He's like, "Hey, for kicks and giggles, when are you going?" We said like, Thursday at 6, and he's like, "Oh, I just got a ticket."
Yeah.
The fact that I can do that is kind of shocking, considering it's a Star Wars movie opening night.
I think
just for comparison, at the same theater that we went to tonight, when the 4th Avengers movie came out, there was cars lined up on the street all the way back to where you couldn't even drive. And this is Star Wars. This should be a lot bigger than that because it's been around for so much longer, and it just wasn't as big at all.
It was not.
We didn't even need to reserve seats at the line at the door, or like in the seats in the room or the line at the door.
Because like we all got good seats, and we were all still spread out, and we all got great places to sit.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Thankfully they put it in like one of the big rooms at the theater,
Yeah.
which was nice.
You can't show that in like a.
But still, you'd expect it to be like, if this was 5 years ago, that room would have been packed.
Speaking of the big theater that they had us in, I have been in there showing other movies, and it has just been so much louder during those. Like, the opening crawl theme should have been super punchy and present, and to me it just wasn't. It just gave me no excitement whenever that came on the screen.
That might have just been our theater.
It might have been. I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but the rest of the movie sounded great.
I was expecting, because opening night for Star Wars, people go crazy. When the opening shows,
nobody really did.
No one went crazy. There were a few people.
The only family that clapped there were friends of mine that were sitting behind me.
So audience reaction. Little applause, except for
your lack of applause.
The only applause was for original trilogy characters, which is kind of sad.
And when they brought back Hayden Christensen has a small tiny role in it. You can hear his voice at some point talking to Rey, but that's it.
Any prequel and original trilogy character that has a brief cameo or just even any amount of screen time.
People lost their fucking minds.
Yeah.
When Luke Skywalker caught that lightsaber, that was supposed to be a big hit moment, and only 3 people clapped.
I know. That was supposed to be the yes.
Even if I saw the Death Star explode in 1977, I'm still not a theater applauder.
I don't like doing that either, but I understand when people do it, and it gets you more engaged in the experience on opening night when people do that. Yeah. In my opinion, that's why you go on opening night.
Well, it's a good thing if you get your audience to react to a scene like that.
Yes.
Because it shows that your audience cares, and our audience did not care.
Yeah, and again, I don't mean to compare this to Endgame so much, but whenever you went to go see that, it was every 5 minutes, the entire theater was just erupting.
Well, that's because Endgame was just a big fan service movie.
Well, this one was too, and it still didn't have that, though. It didn't have those big hit moments.
Yeah.
Most of this movie was fan service, and it still didn't have those.
Now, who had the best reveal for a returning character?
Even though I didn't feel anything whenever it happened, I still have to say Luke, just because the other ones were just there. It was,
because Rey's at Acto, and she's burning. She stole Kylo Ren's ship, and then she starts burning it, and she's had enough of the Jedi. She's gonna, retreat like Luke did, and so she throws the lightsaber.
Yeah. And then he catches it like Rey caught it in the throne room, right?
Yeah.
And then he not only is it a reference to that, but it's showing that Luke regrets doing what he did, which it's another damage control. However, I feel like with this movie, I can learn to forgive The Last Jedi a little bit. It basically tells you that he had an arc. Yeah. So this will only make sense if you watch sort of the trilogy in a row. It's not going to make much sense if you watch the trilogy in a row.
That one scene that Luke is in, while I did enjoy that scene, it still felt out of place. Do you guys agree with that? It felt like it just wasn't supposed to be there,
With Luke?
Yeah.
I feel like it had to be there.
I feel like it had to be there, but it still feels like it just came out of nowhere at a weird point. That could just be my opinion, but it just felt out of place for the moment that it was in.
On Octo? on the planet. Because I felt like that was kind of needed.
Yeah, I feel like
she needed guidance.
Well, yeah, I know that she needed guidance and stuff. But to me, it felt weird because I don't know what I expected him to do in this movie, but he does less than what I thought he would.
Well, Luke is more like Luke in this movie than in the rest of the sequel.
That is true.
And regardless of how badly received these new characters are, you have to sort of let them take the center stage in the final movie.
I actually did quite enjoy the three of them together. They seem more like genuine friends, even though all they did was bicker most of the time.
They fought so much.
It's like a recently divorced couple.
It's like we missed.
Yes.
It should have been like either a trilogy without the Last Jedi or a quadrilogy, because we have no idea why they're fighting the whole time.
They're bickering.
Why was Finn?
It's supposed to just be friendly banter, but it just comes across as a couple that's been married for too long.
Well, we know like Poe is he's a take by the reins kind of guy. He wants stuff done. And so when everyone else is like, no, we have to wait for these people, he's like, no, god damn it.
He just erupts on him. Like, there's literally a scene where there's a giant ass snake and Rey's face to face with it, and Poe just goes, I'm gonna shoot it. And it's like, why?
Don't shoot it.
Like, why?
Finn was like, no, that's not.
Like
That's what I'm gonna need. He's just I'm blasting it. It's like no.
Like Poe's he's a go for it guy. You know, he wants to get stuff done, but he's not stupid.
They do keep continuity with the Last Jedi. They still keep him this like hothead kind of guy.
Yeah.
Leia left him in charge of like. Leia said that Poe would be the next general when she passed away.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean,
rest in peace, Leia.
A national day of F for Leia.
Okay, so yeah, we'll come back to that. The way Leia was in this movie, handled at least. I
feel like it was the best for what they could have done because all the footage of her was from Episode 7.
There was so much footage. Like, I feel like some of it had to have been. I feel like her in shadow lying on the table.
Oh yeah, that was not Carrie Fisher.
It may have been like
that was just a mannequin.
I thought it looked like somebody different. You know?
Yeah. You can tell by their facial profile that it was different.
I thought it was somebody different.
And the way that they had to write the dialogue around her lines because the footage is from another movie, you can tell those moments where the dialogue had to be written around what she had already said.
They were able to get a payoff with one of them though, like don't underestimate, what was it? Don't underestimate droids?
Yeah. And then she says it again whenever when
BB-8 stabs the thing and throws it.
I forgot what the moment was. That's basically what this movie is.
They were able to do it in a way that if you're watching this trilogy in 50 years and you have no idea what's going on, it won't necessarily seem too out of place. Something might seem up, but it won't really seem too I'd say distracting.
I saw a good point by someone else online too, saying you can't really judge these movies right now how they are. I mean, you can, but the prequels are much more respected now than they used to be. So these are gonna have their own legacy later on with these kids of this generation grow up.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about do you think the prequels are more respected because people don't like the sequel trilogy as much, or do you think they've actually come to respect them?
I feel like it is simply just because those kids that grew up with them, like us, because those came out.
Yeah, we're prequel boys.
Prequel boys. Let's go.
Yeah, because Episode 3 came out whenever I was 4 years old. I think it's just because we are older now. What?
You were 4.
Yes.
I feel old now.
Yes, that came out whenever I was 4 years old, and that was the last one of that trilogy. So I feel like that is just because we are more grown up now, so we grew up on those, so that is like our Star Wars, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'd still say Attack of the Clones is the only really bad
I don't
prequel.
like sand.
I don't like
I actually used that earlier. So me and someone else were talking about this earlier, and they were saying that their least favorite one out of the prequel trilogy was The Phantom Menace, and then I just looked at them and I said, I don't like sand, it's coarse and it gets everywhere. And then they were like, well played, good point. I was like,
I think, going to what you said, I think it's because, we grew up with the prequels, we all saw the prequels, we even have a whole meme community around them.
Yes.
He's a Sith Lord. It's like,
He's a Sith Lord. We are now going to the sequels thinking, oh, they're going to be good, they're going to be like the original trilogy good, and Force Awakens started off pretty good.
I feel like The Force Awakens did its job with bridging the gap between the prequel fans and the original trilogy fans and giving them one home that they could both love.
By deep faking A New Hope.
Almost. And then after that, it kind of just went downhill from there. This one, was again on a higher note, but it still was not as good as it could have been or should have been.
And this trilogy was all over the place.
Yeah, so now, you know, because there were a lot of kids. A lot.
In the theater,
yeah.
You mean?
Yeah. There was a lot of kids there whenever we saw it, so they will then grow up to watch these and love them just as much as we love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the original trilogy fan. I feel like I understand now what the original trilogy fans.
We are now original trilogy fans.
We are
I still
original
attest
fans.
that, like,
no, I'm just saying, like, the people who grew up, because we grew up with the prequels, right?
There's
people who grew up with the original trilogy. I can now see what their thought process was with hating a newer trilogy. They didn't like the prequels. We don't necessarily like the sequels. I'd say the sequels are the worst trilogy. I wonder if. Because obviously these kids are going to grow up liking the sequel trilogy, right? It's going to be like their second favorite.
I can't wait for the memes.
Oh God. I don't see a lot of meme
There's
potential.
not a lot of meme potential.
I really don't see a lot of meme potential. But like, you know, I wonder how that'll evolve. Like, I wonder if we will like these movies better or worse later on, or if the generation who are kids right now are going to like them the same or worse later on.
I feel like we will respect them more, but they will be bumped up still by that factor. Should we talk about the kiss now or later?
Oh God. Okay.
let's just get the worst out of the way.
Let's just get right to the thing that we all agree that we hated the most in the movie.
Okay.
Reid can't even fucking handle it. You can tell.
Okay.
Attention, all Raylo shippers. This is your moment.
It is. You won.
You won. You did it.
Congratulations.
You managed to do it. Congratulations.
I don't know how you pulled it off.
You earned my PayPal.
You managed to get them to put the most forced kiss in cinema history.
So let's break it down.
Yes.
So
okay.
You two. Okay. I can't. I hate
Aidan, I think you have the most sanity out of us.
Okay. It was just at a weird moment, and it really came out of nowhere, because there was no romantic tension between them at all before. We're talking about Kylo and Rey, just for those of you who stuck around who haven't seen the movie for some reason. We thought that Ben was dead already, and then he basically crawls out of a pit.
I couldn't have seen that being the end of him.
So
brings a girl back to life, and then just was like, yo, you want to make out?
Okay.
Ray started it. Ray
She did. She went in for the kiss, and I was like, what the fuck are you, why?
So, for context, so this happens right after the fight with Palpatine. And she does like a Jesus cross.
Yes, she does a Jesus cross with lightsabers. She has the entire energy of all the previous Jedi running through her. Anakin, Yoda, Mace.
She has like a spirit bomb. So she basically does what Mace Windu did in the prequels. I just thought about that.
That's a good
even
point.
worse.
Yeah, she actually killed him. So so he dies. He disintegrates, and then she dies because. Of something, I don't know.
For reasons.
Of sadness. So
she dies.
I lost the will to live.
So then,
she's
lying there, and all of a sudden it pans out, and you just see like this hand. It's just Kylo, and he walks up. He's limping over to the.
Because he got fucking yeeted across the entire temple. Slammed up against the rock and thrown into a pit.
So he's holding her, right, and he's like, oh, he doesn't say anything, but he's like, oh God, oh fuck, she's dead. So he has this great idea to heal her like she did him, and she wakes up, and Kylo Ren is still breathing, Ben Solo is still breathing, and for some God-given reason, Rey decides, yeah, let's have some youngling.
That's not how the.
Basically, to me, the reason that he crawled out of the pit though was just to bring her back to life. So to me, my thought process is that the power of boners kept Kylo Ren alive.
Kylo Ren is a simp. I think it kind of clicked in the back of his head, like, oh shit.
Because like she healed him earlier, right? They use this? That's how it worked, right? They use the same ability, I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
When did he have chance to change clothes?
Where the fuck did he get a TIE fighter to fly there?
Where does Kylo Ren keep getting these ships?
Okay, so Rey.
Enlighten us.
Who are you, young lady?
No, you have to say it correctly.
Oh.
Who are you, young lady?
Rey. Skywalker.
Rey Skywalker.
Can non-Jedi see Force ghosts? Is that a thing?
No, they can't.
No? Okay. I don't think that's ever really.
I just want to know where the hell she pulled the name Skywalker out of her ass after that. It's like, I've earned this.
God. Okay,
But yeah, my adopted father is over there right now.
they sort of tease this, but with the little girl, the alien girl who asks, "What's your last name?" I don't have one.
They did. I felt like that was the most in-your-face foreshadowing.
It was a giveaway. The foreshadowing is terrible, by the way. You know everything that's coming.
Ironic.
Like, you know, the force healing. Why would you force heal a random worm?
Like J.J. Abrams was saying was going to piss some people off, though, was the new force ability.
The new force?
Yeah.
I think he was talking about we'll talk about it later.
I'm okay with the force ability.
Yeah, I think it's good because Baby
fine.
Yoda does it. Honestly, that's probably why they released.
We are now reviewing The Mandalorian.
They totally shift. I guarantee you, 1,000% that's not how it adds up. But they released that episode of Mandalorian to time exactly perfectly with the movie, so that people can't complain about it because Baby Yoda did it. But I think it's fine.
Do you think Disney is that coordinated?
Yes, actually, I'm surprised by this.
But a welcome one.
Rey Skywalker. That's gonna be the new Wikipedia page name, because you don't want to walk up to this old woman and say, "Oh, Rey Palpatine." You know.
I still feel like
what are you gonna say there?
it could have been handled better, and it could have been not as forced. She could have again just said just Rey and just left it at that. She didn't have to say Skywalker.
Leia was her master. She should have said Organa. How's that?
Also,
Would that have worked?
I feel like that the title Rise of Skywalker should not have pertained to her, and I will always think that the title Rise of Skywalker should have been about the redemption of Ben Solo, and then he should take on the name Skywalker at the end. I feel like that would have tied it in better anyway, because he always idolized his grandfather more than his father anyway.
Palpatine called him the last Skywalker.
He did, which is why I thought that title was referring to him until we got the most forced ending of all time.
To be honest, I kind of when Rey bit the dust, I was kind of hoping that was how it ended.
I really wanted. Okay, when she dies, this brings up a good point. I was thinking, what if she's the one that dies and sacrifices herself, and then Ben Solo carries on the Jedi Order afterwards?
Yeah, I feel like that'd be a good ending to his arc.
That would have been an amazing ending for both of them. She would have gotten the ending that she deserves, and then he would have gotten the ending that he needed.
So what is worse for you, the kiss or the name?
Name. Also,
I feel like it's the kiss.
I really can't choose. They're both so forced, and they're both Rey moments, which, I mean,
Yes.
Rey does strain, but I still...
Very, very little.
I can't...
The first scene we get of Rey, she's literally like the fucking nucleus of an atom. Just like
that is
there.
true.
Rocks.
Jeremy Johns explained it perfectly. The original trilogy in Return of the Jedi, the first thing that Luke does is he chokes out two people, and then you think, like, oh shit, this guy has improved. This one has been a year, and she already knows way more than anybody before her did, and it's just like, fucking how? That's exactly how Jeremy Johns said it.
It takes Luke, like, this sequel trilogy is over the course of 1 year, right? In total? 1 year? Right?
Yes, because The Last Jedi took off right after The Force Awakens ended. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's 1 year. It takes Rey 1 year to fly, shoot lightning, and everything.
But she does by accident.
She shoots lightning in this for like 5 seconds.
She does it one time and never once uses it in the final battle, which is like, why?
It's a dark side ability.
To be, in all fairness,
She uses it like a defibrillator. Just
they did. Ben. So, in all fairness, like, I know this will get a lot of criticism. This is what Last Jedi got a lot of criticism for. Rey had no like explanation for her giant strength. All the Jedi are said to give all their powers to her.
She turns into Goku.
In all fairness, that's what happens. However, Rey was already super strong in Force Awakens. Rey force pulls a saber without like the thousands of Jedi.
Without even really trying to.
In a couple of hours, right? I assume Force Awakens takes place over like a couple weeks maximum, right?
Yeah.
It takes Luke 3 years to force pull a lightsaber, and he still struggles.
Because I mean, if you say like, "Oh, she's Palpatine," I feel like that's a really lazy way of saying, "Oh, wow, she's that powerful."
Yeah.
Because Palpatine is the most powerful Sith that ever.
Would that be more lazy than saying that she was a Skywalker?
It's both equally lazy.
What if she ended up being a Kenobi because they're both British?
I honestly,
Wow,
honestly,
okay.
I could see her being a Kenobi the least out of Skywalker and Palpatine.
I could see her being a Kenobi the most during Force Awakens. I was like, she's definitely like the grandchild of Ben somehow.
Yeah, but Kenobi was always adamant about not having, relationships.
Yeah, he was.
He could have had a secret love affair. You don't really know that.
With Satine or something.
She fucking bit the dust.
There's no way she could have been a Kenobi. I don't think, even in Force Awakens. I think Skywalker and Palpatine and Solo were the most like popular and most plausible choices.
No one. I think the most popular was Skywalker.
So I'm confused about this. How long did Leia know that Rey was a Palpatine? Because they say she knew all along. I don't know.
She felt it in the Force.
The humor is definitely better than The Last Jedi.
That movie had humor.
Oh, well, yeah.
At some point to this, though, you couldn't tell if the movie was trying to just be a straight-up comedy or if it was just trying to be an action-adventure movie with comedic moments, you know? Because at a point, especially with 3PO, it just seemed like joke after joke after joke, especially directed at him.
What? He just looked behind himself. Yeah.
Speaking of that, 3PO had a lot to do in this movie.
Yeah, 3PO was the main character.
Which I actually dug. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. The way that they handled it could have been better, but I thought that giving him a lot to do was a good choice.
We said that we were talking earlier, like at the restaurant. We were saying that I like how 3PO was the center of attention for the first and last film.
Yeah.
Meaning 4 and 9.
No, episode 1.
My circuits are showing.
McClunky.
Young Mark Hamill, McClunky. So Mark
Young
Hamill,
Carrie Fisher in this, McClunky.
wanted to shoot myself.
honestly, Luke looked photorealistic.
He honestly looked like they just got like a deleted footage
Yeah,
of like the older movies.
it looks so
And
good.
then it pans to Rey, not
Or
Leia.
It looked worse than
Snapchat
the
sticker.
Rogue
Snapchat filter.
One. We were talking about this earlier. It looked worse than the CGI Carrie Fisher in Rogue One. It looked worse than that.
Which says a lot.
It literally looked like their head was floating on top of the helmet that it was supposed to be in.
So
I could see her cheeks moving independently from the helmet. It was like, what the
Her
hell?
upper lip, like right here, was moving up and down, which isn't possible.
it was literally a 2-second shot,
There's
and they
no-
managed to screw it up.
There's no muscle from here to here, and they
Maybe it was
managed to
time
do it.
restraints. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that's the best that they could do with what
They
they had.
spent the entire budget on Luke.
the whole movie's.
The whole movie's budget.
Let's
So-
be honest, the whole movie's budget was spent on those thousands of ships that all of a sudden.
God, that was.
No,
if you ever want to go Easter egg hunting,
that.
Pause that moment.
pause that moment.
I thought
the
that
whole
movie was pretty.
whole film's budget was Harrison Ford.
We didn't even talk about that yet. Oh,
Oh, yeah,
God, we didn't even fucking.
He shows up too.
And he, yeah. So
They-
he's not a force ghost. He's an
That-
imagination.
He's an
That,
hallucination.
in my opinion,
Kylo Ren's tripping on like shrooms.
he was the best person to bring him back to the good side. So
True.
I feel like they handled him really well.
Well, it was a combination of Leia and Han, which I liked.
Yes, it was a combo.
And I feel like the way that they handled Han in this, with it just being inside Kylo's head, him knowing that this is what he really needed to do. The line that Kylo says is the same line that he says right before he kills his dad.
Yeah, they mirror. They mirror.
It was an exact
I
shot-for-shot
really liked that.
recreation.
Yes, I really dug that. I thought that was really cool, and I thought that they handled him very well in this film.
Would you like to recreate the scene?
Yeet.
I really kind of like that moment too.
Okay, so the two main good things that I really liked about this. One, the force projections, which I really liked, or not the force projections, the force psychic link thing.
Yes, where they're like linked up.
That was a good thing. I will say this about Last Jedi. I loved that. That was good. And
Yes,
they
that was
expanded-
probably my favorite bit in The Last Jedi was when they were linked up.
This was a bit of progression that lacks in this trilogy. You see the water like on his glove, like when he in 8 when he rubs his face, and you see the water.
Yeah.
And they've evolved it. He stole the necklace, and then it turned into like they're able to actually like clash sabers.
Yeah, they're like actually fighting.
And then Vader.
You think of one stormtrooper's just watching Kylo like.
I want to.
There was one stormtrooper just like standing there like looking at him like,
No, but
sir.
I thought he just walked around the corner.
No, I want to see it from his point of view. I want to see it from like the stormtrooper's point of view. Vader's helmet, literally, according to the stormtrooper, it literally just popped out.
It just shows up like, what the hell?
She's in my quarters.
Don't look at my computer.
Young Skywalker, please stop. I can't do this one more time.
Pat me all over again. I fully expected him in the climax. I expected him to just grab a lightsaber and just to spin at her.
You thought he would, because Palpatine doesn't know fighting.
He does say some memorable lines, you know. The
Who,
dark
Palpatine?
side. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he says the tragedy of Darth Plagueis. Well, sort of. He says a line.
He says the the dark side is a pathway to many abilities some consider unnatural.
That's their excuse for bringing him back.
Yeah, that's the whole excuse. That's all we get.
Is that it's just unnatural?
It's unnatural.
Don't worry, don't question it. It's just unnatural.
I like how in the first 5 minutes of the movie, you are if you were already paying attention, Rey's Palpatine just by his answer. Because
I know her story. Like, why the hell?
Again,
Kylo's like, "Who is she then?" And Palpatine's like,
Muha.
Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?
Rey's a Palpatine, good or bad?
It's fine.
I'll accept it.
Okay.
I don't think it rolls off the tongue well.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the best explanation that they could have done after The Last Jedi.
She's actually an asexual reproduction of Anakin's left nut. Cut that, please.
Snoke is a clone.
Yes.
Or some kind of manufactured. I don't know if it's clone or manufactured.
He was made in China.
I didn't like that just because that was one of the bits that was like, oh shit, damage control, what do we do? It's just like, oh, Snoke is a clone.
Yeah.
Clone of who?
Palpatine should have been Plagueis in this movie.
But the question is, would he have sounded like his creatures in the Clone Wars cartoon?
Yes.
The banking clan? Huh?
Yeah.
We can't we General Kenobi. So, back to that. Snoke didn't have to be Plagueis. Snoke really didn't have to be anybody special. But
Snoke wasn't anybody special.
Yeah,
he really wasn't.
He didn't necessarily, it would have been coherent and followable if he was just he was there the whole time and he ended up being in charge of the Sith cult or whatever. But I feel if you really wanted a good main villain, you should have started with Plagueis at Episode 7. Okay, so this is called the Skywalker Saga, but these movies aren't about the Skywalkers, except the name drop.
George Lucas himself has said that the entire prequel trilogy and that the entire original trilogy was never supposed to focus around Luke. It was also supposed to be Anakin's story from his decline up into his redemption.
Yes. There was no Anakin, except for Hayden Christensen's voice.
That's all you get.
This was a movie of fake outs. It was another gotcha movie, similar to The Last Jedi. So Chewie,
The first one was
The first one was Lando.
Was it?
Yeah, because the first time
that was a failed gotcha. Nobody failed for that.
As soon as that guy showed up, I was like, Lando.
I turned to Dominic. We both say Lando simultaneously. There was no fake out of that.
It's not the first time he's disguised himself as a character.
As bad as that setup was, you might as well have just had him shoot the guy and then turn around and you see him there. That would have been fine.
Just boom, Lando.
He's not even old Lando. It's just Childish Gambino.
There was. There was no point for the mask. 0 point. Unless they couldn't get him actually in the desert and they just had him in the set of the do you think that's it?
That's exactly what they did.
Man, we couldn't get Billy today.
You could have just CG'd him or something or green screened. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the first big gotcha was Chewie. They arrest him and they put him on the ship. You see no other ships around. Feels like you would have noticed him leaving, but Rey force lightnings the ship. And it explodes. I wonder if she can still do that, by the way. But regardless.
She literally thought she murdered her best friend right there.
And then, literally not one scene later, gotcha! Hey, Chewie, how you doing?
I really just want to know who at the First Order is be really funny? 2 transport ships. Just to fake them out. They would never
we'll send one of them the other way, but we'll send this one slower.
We'll send one
the way of the enemy.
General Hux. The whiny bitch. Yeah,
Ron Weasley.
Ron Weasley of the First Order. He's a spy, and he's not very good at it either.
There is rumblings of a spy since the second scene of the movie, and then all of a sudden, the entire main cast is about to get shot by stormtroopers, and then all of a sudden they all just fall, and then and then Hux is just, I'm the spy. It's me. A
Callus 2.0.
Steve Haynes moment.
Callus 2.0.
Yeah, it's his a Steve Haynes moment. He's just I'm a double agent. I've been discovered. What the fuck? He's
But sadly, he gets killed by General Pride.
Not gonna lie, I thought it was Pride until Hux was like, "Give me the blaster," and then I'm like, oh, "Okay, come on."
I want to do it myself.
It's not that we didn't get. It's not that we didn't get fooled, because some of these I got fooled by, but it's just they don't have time to work.
Yeah. Yeah, cause the Hux thing. At first that got me. I was like, oh shit, he's about to murder them, and then it was just, I'm the spy.
I don't think it was suspicious at all, because he literally, I don't even know how he got away with it because he only asks for one of the stormtroopers' gun. There's like 4 of them there.
Yeah,
So he takes the gun, he aims it towards them,
shoots 3
and
times.
then he shoots this way.
Yeah, I sort of thought something was up because I thought the angle was weird. I thought if you were gonna like have
Like how it just like
I thought it would be like maybe like a close-up front-forward shot of him, but to have the stormtroopers lined up in the same shot, like you don't like see Hux and one other stormtrooper, or like even a close-up on the gun. You see the row. The camera is at an angle where you see all the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Sorry, Reid. But it didn't get me as like. But I can understand how it would get other people. The gotcha moments are going to vary in between different viewers. So the next one is 3PO's memory wipe.
Yes.
We all thought.
Oh no, I'm dead. R2 doesn't back up his memory. Oh, what's that? R2 backed up his memory.
The plot gets to the point where C-3PO has to translate ancient Sith runes.
But he's not allowed to because reasons.
He's not allowed to, even though his masters literally consisted of one of the most powerful Sith Lords.
They said it was a prequel reference. They said it's not Senate protocol or something, or it's like Senate restrictions.
Yeah, so
it was hard to hear that though. It was like in the background. So like
it's because he was given to Organa, so it was like whatever.
So
it seems kind of weird that the Republic Senate would not allow you to translate enemy text. You're just saying.
That's a good point.
they go to this. I'm just gonna say Hoth 2.0, just with more people. Hoth 2.0.
It wasn't like Hoth at all.
It was so snowy.
They went to a snow planet.
It's hot. They went to snow, and they meet up with. That's another moment. We got Poe's background, Spice Runner. So, anyways,
Han Solo 2.0.
Han Solo 2.0. So, anyways, they meet like the hacker who's about a foot tall, and
Not even that.
Maybe what 4 inches. That he decides to hack C-3PO, and then C-3PO just.
Die, Jedi dogs!
He's one of my oldest friends. That was funny. I like that.
Oh yeah, that was a really funny one. It was just like, oh, I love him. He's my oldest friend.
The names, that reminds me, the names. He's like Dabu something. I want to say Dabu Skye, but that was one of the Cantobite guys that Mark Hamill played. The names of characters aren't memorable. I don't remember.
We will not mention Cantobite again.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I sinned.
I
can't remember anybody's name. I can't remember Kerry Russell's character.
Oh my god, I can't remember their name.
It was like, it started with an S or a Z. I think it was a Z.
Oh my god, I can't remember any of their names.
Zero.
Wasn't one of them like, I know what you're talking about. It sounded like
Zorro.
I thought it was like Azuri or something.
Was it? Well,
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Case in point,
Female Boba Fett. Let's just put it.
right, we meet Skabu Day, and he wipes 3PO's memory. 3PO comes back, and R2's like, oh, here you go. Here's your memory. So that was
he lost his memory. Gotcha, bitch.
Gotcha.
No. Rey fucking bites the dust.
Died, but no. Rey gets killed by like the amount of, was it the lightning or just using the powers?
I literally don't know how, because she had the power of Christ.
She basically dies the same way that like people who die in the toilet did, by using their brain too much and like putting too much force on it.
Time out, what?
People who die in the toilet die because they don't breathe enough when they're exerting that amount of force, and it contorts their brain and makes them die.
She dies. Ben comes back. He gets thrown in a hole. He comes back. I knew he was coming back. Like, why are you going to throw your character in a hole? You're not going to come back. Ben goes over to Rey. Rey's dead. I heard somebody in the audience go, ugh. I swear to God. I think it was behind us, Reid. There was an old.
No, I think that was me.
Was it? Somebody next to me and Reid, could have been Reid, and we don't know. I forgot. Went ugh, and then because you know something's about to happen because you won't introduce that force healing thing for no reason, unless you're just a bad filmmaker. So.
Which J.J. Abrams is not a bad filmmaker.
No.
We're not saying that in
Thank you,
any way.
JJ.
JJ, we love you forever. You and your lens flares, always.
Always.
Not a lot of lens flares.
Flare, right.
I appreciated that.
Lens flares everywhere.
Right. I still feel like that they either should have both made it or just been made.
Just Ben?
Yeah, it should have either just been Ben or it should have been both of them. I know what they were trying to do with Ben. They were trying to give him the same redemption that Anakin had, where it's just like, oh, he's good for 2 seconds and then he's dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they were trying to do a reflection of that, and it just didn't work as well. It just wasn't as natural.
But I mean, because the difference between Anakin and Ben's redemption is that Anakin actually finished the prophecy. He killed Palpatine.
Told X.
Yes, and he didn't make out with Luke before he died.
But Ben, he comes running back. What does he do? Kill the Knights of Ren. And that's about it, right?
Yeah.
He just kills the Knights of Ren and then gets yeeted.
I love that fight. Not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, he just beats him up with the Force for a little bit.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty sick. Also, I will say what Reid is demonstrating right now.
As you can see,
this was another moment in the theater that actually
That got applause. That actually got applause.
That did get quite a bit of applause because Rey has the lightsaber. She reaches behind her head, and Palpatine thinks that he's about to die, and then she just moves her hand back, and it's just gone. And then Ben just all of a sudden has it because they linked one last time, and then he just has it. And then he just starts wrecking shit on all the knights, and he just kills them all.
And it was Anakin's lightsaber.
And it was Anakin's lightsaber, and I feel like that's the moment that he truly earned to actually use it.
With all the trilogies said and done, ranking the trilogies, I would say original trilogy, of course, prequels, and then sequels with a little star.
It's a little star.
Because this movie, I honestly think, tried the most. It didn't really work, but they did try the most.
Original trilogy, prequel, then sequel.
So same.
Yeah.
I assume.
I would agree. Yeah.
The same.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's rank like the core 9 movies, not counting Solo or Rogue One, from worst to best.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do some thinking, but I think this can.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say Empire Strikes Back, Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, Force Awakens, Phantom Menace, Return of the Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Attack of the Clones, The Last Jedi.
My ranking of all 9 would be pretty much the same as Reid, but you put Return of the Jedi after the Phantom Menace?
Or underneath.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
I would switch those two. Just because I still really enjoy the movie, even though a lot of people say this is their least favorite, I honestly really enjoy it.
I can respect that.
Yeah.
I would agree that 5 is the best one, but it's not my favorite. 4 is my favorite, and it will probably continue to be. I would go 4, 5, 3, 6, 7, 1, 8, 2.
You missed 9.
Did I miss 9?
You missed the one that we're reviewing. Oof. That's how forgettable this film is.
Bye. I'd say it's just under Phantom Menace, between Phantom Menace and 8.
Yeah.
All in all, I would say the general consensus among us is a fun movie, not a great movie, but it's not a satisfying conclusion, but it's to wrap up the trilogy.
It is a conclusion.
For the trilogy, I wouldn't say it saves the trilogy, but it makes the trilogy better. Not the Star Wars saga. If you watch all these films, soon, there's I hear the 4K saga release is going to be in March. They're not really giving it much time to stay in theaters. If that Best Buy leak was true, which there was so many leaks around this movie, it has to be true at this point.
Well, that's because John Boyega left his script underneath his bed.
That wasn't
and then moved.
People at Lucasfilm literally took pictures of the film reel and put it on Reddit. Oh my god.
Disney, hire better people. Jesus. I feel like we've just been bashing this film for an hour?
No.
That was not our intention at all. There was a lot of negatives that we said, but there was some positives. There was some cool stuff to be had. As a Star Wars fan, it was enjoyable.
It's a fun movie.
Yes. As a Star Wars fan, it was still enjoyable. It is fun to watch. It is fun to see. If you're a Star Wars fan, go out and see it just to have that conclusion, because
it'll certainly help.
Yeah, it will. But it's just not the best out of the 9, which it's hard to compare it to 8 other films like this, where they're all so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So the worst trilogy, but it is still worth watching.
Yeah.
It's not George Lucas, which is sad, but I would say
stuff like this does make you wonder what he would have done with it too.
Jar Jar's the key to all of this.
And all jokes aside, George Lucas, we love you, man. You created something that we all grew up on, and that we still love to this day, and that we always will.
You know, it revolutionized effects, storytelling,
even Attack of the Clones.
Even Attack of the Clones. Revolutionized digital filmmaking. It was the first film to be fully shot on digital. Star Wars has pioneered a lot of the core aspects of filmmaking, and it definitely owes that respect to George and Lucasfilm, despite the clowns that are in charge these days.
Thank you, Kathleen Kennedy.
Very cool.
Have a good night.
All right, this has been the first episode of Aidan Squared. Hope you guys have all enjoyed. Go see this film.
And next up, we got a Joker review coming to you. Not quite sure on a date yet, but we are still definitely working on that.
Yes, Joker is coming up next. We also have Back to the Future as well in the works. And we will be coming out with the first episode of the Dom and Jay show, where we go behind the scenes of Onerous One. We'll see you then. I've been Aidan J. Schwartz.
I'm Reid Lindemann.
And I'm Aidan Snook.
We'll see you guys next time.
I'm going to take a nap.
McClung.
What do you think? Do you think a princess and a guy like me?
No.